Good day, legends. Buckle up because what we're about to get into is something the mainstream media won't touch with a 10-foot pole. Australia is at a crossroads, and if we take the wrong turn, we'll be left choking on the dust of nations that actually know what they are doing. Over the next 18 months to 2 years, America's set to surge ahead, no question about it. And what are we doing? Playing political footy with issues that don't actually make your life any better. Before we crack on, do us a solid, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and chuck your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're sick to death of the political circus, check out our Albo Says Relax t-shirt, only $23 for the next 48 hours. Links in the description. Right, let's dive in. If Anthony Albanese and his crew stay in power, Australia won't just lag behind. We'll be miles back, struggling to catch up. But even if the coalition wins, there's no time for fence-sitting. They need to come in swinging, cutting bureaucracy, scrapping useless red, green, and black tape, and focusing on what really matters: cost of living, economic growth, and national strength. Anything less, and we're cooked. And here's where it gets even crazier. Have you ever stopped to wonder why American taxpayers are sending money to Australian universities? Sounds bonkers, right? Well, turns out the Yanks have been handing out research grants to Aussie institutions. Why? Who knows? Maybe it's for something important, or maybe it's just another way of keeping their influence alive. But here's the twist. Recently, those same universities got a little questionnaire from the US government. Basic stuff. What are your policies on gender? What's your stance on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion? And, mate, you'd think they'd been hit with a nuclear bomb. Suddenly, it's all "oh no, America is interfering with our research." Really? The same America that's been dishing out free money is now the bad guy for asking a few questions? Makes you wonder, what exactly are these universities hiding? If they are so terrified of a little transparency, maybe the funding should dry up. Meanwhile, back in the US, something pretty wild is happening. The 47th President of the United States, Donald Trump, has come through like a cyclone, ripping through woke-infested universities. He's calling them out, cutting funding, and forcing institutions like Columbia to actually reconsider their insane policies. Because, surprise, surprise, money talks. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Trump's next move? Going after the accreditation of universities that refuse to drop race-based hiring and admissions. That's a massive deal. If you don't hire on merit, if you push identity politics over actual ability, why should you be accredited? That's the kind of decisive action Australia desperately needs. But instead, we've got universities like Macquarie running around obsessed with welcome to country ceremonies and identity politics instead of, actual education. When did we decide that the main priority of higher education was cultural virtue signaling? Meanwhile, our economy's struggling, cost of living's through the roof, and everyday Aussies are doing it tough. But sure, let's spend all our energy on making sure university students are welcomed onto their own campus every single morning. And here's the kicker. Australians are getting sick of it. The left's march through the institutions didn't stop at universities. It's in private companies, government policies, and every part of life. And for years, conservative leaders have just sat back and watched. But Trump? He's actually doing something. He's using power to push back against the insanity, instead of just complaining about it like so many others. Think about it. How did we even get here? How did we go from common sense to a world where there are 500 genders, where schools are pushing absolute nonsense, and where we are actively destroying the very foundations of our society? It didn't happen overnight. It happened because the left played the long game, and they were never challenged. Now, when someone does challenge them, they throw a massive tantrum. But that's the thing, you have to withstand it. The US is doing it. They are standing their ground. But can Australia? That's the real question. We are at a fork in the road, and the next 2 years will decide our future. America is moving ahead, and if we don't wake up, we'll be left way behind. Even if the coalition wins, they can't afford to play it safe. No more lukewarm, half-hearted conservatism. They need to cut hard, trim the fat, scrap the useless bureaucracy, and start making real changes. Because let's be real, Australians don't care about never-ending welcome to country ceremonies. They care about affording their mortgage, putting food on the table, and having a future that isn't dictated by out-of-touch elites who only care about virtue signaling. And if Peter Dutton wants to actually win, he needs to be smart about it. Trump has a genius for picking 80-20 issues, things that 80% of people agree with while forcing the left to defend the ridiculous 20%. Think about it. When Trump says, "I'm deporting Venezuelan drug cartel members," the left suddenly jumps up to defend criminals, and regular people just shake their heads in disbelief. That's how you win. Dutton and the coalition need to find those issues here in Australia and hammer them relentlessly. Force Albanese and Labor to defend their madness. Because when they do, Australians will see it for what it really is, ideological nonsense that does nothing for the average person. Now, before we wrap up, let's get real. If you're fed up with the political circus, if you're sick of being told what to think by woke institutions, then it's time to push back. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. And hey, if you want to wear your frustration loud and proud, check out our Albo Says Relax t-shirt, only $23 for the next 48 hours. Links in the description. Australia has a choice. Stand up and take control of our future, or sit back and watch as we fall further behind. What's it going to be?